Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and today I'm here with an ADHD organizational tip. Many with ADD, your brain is being bombarded with ideas, and one of the challenges is actually organizing those ideas into some type of a form that really makes a lot of sense. And so when you're starting on a project or you're trying to put some things together, for me, just as somebody with dyslexia and stuff, I got to understand how everything relates to each other. So one of the things that I found, I've learned from working with those with ADD, is you get something like a poster board, and I've got this actually pinned up to a grease board in my office. And what you do is you just basically sit down and you write all kinds of ideas that you might have on Post-its. In this particular situation, I'm trying to illustrate for me, when you go out into the world and people talk about strengths and gifts and talents and skills and knowledge and experience and what's the difference between all that stuff, and I like to understand it, how it all kind of comes together. So I basically put a whole bunch of these words like modalities, experience, passion, the need to practice, resources, skills, knowledge, experience, and strength. And so what I do is I write it on here and I just put it on the poster board. Now what's really good about this is if you have a Word document or something on the computer, you can put these things down, but if you need to change them, it's kind of cumbersome. But the cool thing about a Post-it is you can rearrange it. You can just stick it somewhere else. So for me, there's a few things. You have skills that seem to go together. You have knowledge, and you have experience. Now, I've already done this, so I'm trying to cycle through this relatively quickly, and so those things kind of go together for me. You also have talents, and you have modalities. A modality is kind of how you do something to me. A talent is what you're good at. And then let's see, where's passion is another one, and those kind of come together. So I'm really trying to define what a strength is. And we've got some other things. I know that you need to practice. I know that you need resources. I know that you need to pay attention to a strength in order for it to be good. And I know that you need to believe in it. But I got these up on the board, but I really can't make some sense of them. So, also I know that there's a few things that I'm bringing to the party: choices, embedded, facilitators, and transferables. So as I began to play with this and move this around years ago, what I ended up doing was saying, okay, let's start over here with a strength. And I said, okay, I want to define what it is. So I put just a real simple equal sign, if you will. And then I began to play around with it, and I came to realize is that one of the things that you need is you need the skill, the ability to do something, the knowledge to be able to do it, and the experience to practice it. Just because you have the skill doesn't mean you're any good at it. Just because you've read the book doesn't mean you're good at it. Just because you practice it doesn't really mean that you're good at it. Really, talent is really kind of what gets you there, but I do know that you need those three things, and these are transferables. Like you can go to school and learn that from one person to another. So I actually put it under this as a transferable type thing. Then as time went along, I kept rearranging these things, and I said, well, basically, I need to add to that the ability to practice, and I need the resources in order to practice. Interesting how that kind of came together, and these are what I called facilitators. After, again, this didn't happen this quick. It took like a couple days to kind of keep rearranging these Post-its to where they made a lot of sense. And then I actually realized is that if you were actually going to have a skill, and you had the skills, knowledge, experience, and you had the ability to practice, you actually had to believe, all right? You had to believe in it, and you had to pay attention to it. Because if you didn't believe in that skill, like for example, maybe a businesswoman, if she believed a woman's place is in the home, her strength, whatever that is, might not manifest. So I put those things together, and that became choices. And the last piece that I kind of came together with is, let's see, modalities, talents, and passions. And these are things that you're born with. And then I ended up putting this nice little formula together. So at the end of the day, I define a strength. It's equal to things that you get from other places. Somebody teaches you a skill, you read a book and you gain knowledge and you practice it. Plus, you have to have the resources in order to practice it, okay, to develop that particular skill. you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to believe in that skill, and you've got to pay attention to it. That's where kind of the practice kind of comes into play. And then the last piece is things that you're born with. You've got to have a passion. You've got to really, really want to do it. You've got to have some type of talent and the ability to perform probably at a higher level. That's what makes anybody might have skills, knowledge, and experience, but there needs to be something that's special about you that perform at a higher level. And to me, a modality is kind of how you work. My point in all this stuff is that I was always confused by all this stuff. And in order to organize and put it down, I just got out a poster board, started writing thoughts and ideas on Post-its, and then I started kind of rearranging them at different times. Now, again, this was the answer that I got to. Let me tell you, there's probably 15, 20 iterations in the middle. Know that in the middle of it, sometimes I would get stuck and I would have to leave it and come back. And a lot of times I couldn't leave everything out. So one of the cool things about poster boards is when you're not using them, you can leave everything as is, and you can just simply roll them up, as so. And I can put a rubber band around it and I can store it. Matter of fact, sometimes I've worked with people where we had layers, where we had something like this and we took maybe passions, and we had a whole other sheet that delved into that. So that way we just added the sheet on top of this stuff, and again, it was nice and neat. We rolled it all back up, and then the next time you come out to deal with it, you can roll it back out, and for those that are visual, it can kind of take you back to where you were. So again, what this is it's a tip to kind of help you get your head around things or organize your thoughts in a way that makes it easy. Again, you can move Post-its around. If you have a piece of paper, you might have to rewrite or draw diagrams. So I hope you enjoyed this tip, and I hope you enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.